Hello, my name is Pastor Kris Kollar. I'm the pastor of Pleasant Valley Lutheran Church near Malabar Farm State Park and St. Paul Lutheran Church in Lucas, Ohio. Greetings. We're reading through the Bible with commentary, and we are up to the book of Lamentations, which is in the middle of the major prophets, and it is not a book of prophecy. It is a book of grief and sorrow, literally laments. And it is a book of 5 chapters, and the first 4 are acrostic poems. So A, B, C, D, only it's Hebrew, so it's alphabetical. And each verse starts with the letter, like the first verse starts with Aleph, and the second verse starts with Bet, and all the way through the Hebrew alphabet, which has 22 letters. The 5th chapter doesn't follow the letters, but it still has 22 verses in the chapter. And it is placed immediately after Jeremiah, because Jeremiah primarily talks about the fall of Jerusalem and the fall of Judah. And it was credited to Jeremiah, but Jeremiah was deported to Egypt, or taken to Egypt by Johanan. So probably not by Jeremiah. More likely it was by somebody who was exiled, but in the style or in the tradition of Jeremiah. And it is sad. Let's lament. And if nothing else, it's a reminder that part of the human experience is lamenting and crying. Earlier we had the Song of Solomon, the Song of Songs. Part of being human is to have love and to make love and to have intimacy between people. And part of the human experience is to cry, to weep, to lament the loss of things and people and whatever it is that we hold dear. So the loss of Jerusalem, the burning down of the temple, the destruction, and being deported was a huge, huge loss. And so we're up to chapter 2, and it's a portrayal and a picture of the city being destructed. And so a lot of it is the personification of the city that has now been destroyed, Jerusalem, as a person, but not just that. And it's a lament. It's very sad. So, but this way the people could protest to God that they didn't like it. They could process their emotions, and they could voice the confusion about how awful things are. So, chapter 2 of Lamentations. How the Lord in his anger has humiliated daughter Zion. He has thrown down from heaven to earth the splendor of Israel. He has not remembered his footstool in the day of his anger. And in the Bible Project, they had a wonderful point that the Lord is slow to anger, but the Lord does anger eventually. And after 500 years, the Lord had had enough. That is how, at the very least, the prophets and the people in the writing Lamentations explain, we have sinned, this has happened to us, the Lord is slow to anger, but he does anger eventually. Verse 2, the Lord has destroyed without mercy all the dwellings of Jacob. In his wrath he has broken down the strongholds of daughter Judah. He has brought down to the ground in dishonor the kingdoms and its rulers. Verse 3, he has cut down in fierce anger all the might of Israel. He has withdrawn his right hand from them in the face of the enemy. He has burned like a flaming fire in Jacob, consuming all around. 4. He has bent his bow like an enemy, with his right hand set like a foe. He has killed all in whom we took pride, in the tent of daughter Zion. He has poured out his fury like fire. 5. The Lord has become like an enemy. He has destroyed Israel. He has destroyed all its palaces, laid in ruins its strongholds, and multiplied in daughter Judah mourning and lamentation. 6. He has broken down his booth like a garden. He has destroyed his tabernacle. The Lord has abolished in Zion festival and Sabbath. In his fierce indignation has spurned king and priest. 7. The Lord has scorned his altar, disowned his sanctuary, has delivered into the hand of the enemy the walls of her palaces. A clamor was raised in the house of the Lord as on a day of festival. So saying that the Lord has gotten angry because they've been sinning and sinning, and sent the prophets to say, don't sin, practice righteousness, do what the law says, and eventually now they are handed over to the hands of their enemies, and that's destroyed. And broken down his booth, the temple is completely destroyed. Verse 8, the Lord determined to lay in ruins the wall of daughter Zion. He stretched the line. He did not withhold his hand from destroying. He caused rampart and wall to lament. They languished together. Her gates have, verse 9, her gates have sunk into the ground. He has ruined and broken her bars. The king and princes are among the nations. Guidance is no more. And her prophets obtain no vision from the Lord. So the walls are broken down, the gates are broken down, the kings and the princes have been taken away or killed, and they are no longer there. And even the prophets who used to have visions from the Lord, they've got nothing. Verse 10, the elders of daughter Zion sit on the ground in silence. They have thrown dust on their heads and put on sackcloth. The young girls of Jerusalem have bowed their heads to the ground. Because when you are absolutely grief-stricken, the natural thing is to go straight to the ground. The expression, are you sitting down? Because if you're not, when grief hits you, you sit. This is what happened when I found out that my mother had passed. I immediately sat down, literally right where I was. I just sat on some steps that happened to be there. And it is the natural thing when we're grieving and grief-stricken to go straight down. Somehow touching the ground is a natural thing that we do when we are sad. Verse 11, my eyes are spent with weeping, my stomach churns, my bile is poured out on the ground because of the destruction of my people, because infants and babes faint in the streets of the city. And at this point now the city is talking, maybe? It's my stomach, who is the my? Could be the prophet, could be the personification of the city. But certainly isn't that how we feel when we've got so much grief that we just cry so much that we're spent and our stomach just hurts from all the emotion. Verse 12, they cry to their mothers, where is bread and wine? As they faint like the wounded in the streets of the city, as their life is poured out on their mother's bosom. The children are dying of starvation. Verse 13, what can I say for you? To what can compare you, O daughter Jerusalem? To what can I liken you, that I may comfort you, O virgin daughter Zion? For vast as the sea is your ruin, who can heal you? 14, your prophets have seen for you false and deceptive visions. They have not exposed your iniquity to restore your fortunes, but have seen oracles for you that are false and misleading. So if your prophets had told you that you were sitting, then maybe you could have changed your fortunes, but they said, oh, everything's great, and you were sinning, and now it's awful. Verse 15, all who pass along the way clap their hands at you. They hiss and wag their heads at daughter Jerusalem. Is this the city that was called the perfection of beauty, the joy of all the earth? Verse 16, all your enemies open their mouths against you. They hiss, they gnash their teeth. They cry, we have devoured her. Ah, this is the day we longed for. At last we have seen it. So even the enemies are gloating over Jerusalem. Verse 17, the Lord has done what he proposed. He has carried out his threat as he ordained long ago. He has demolished without pity. He has made the enemy rejoice over you and exalted the might of your foes. Verse 18, cry aloud to the Lord, O wall of daughter Zion. Let tears stream down like a torrent day and night. Give yourself no rest, your eyes no respite. So the wall is told to cry. It's a poem, it's a lament, and it's in a very structured format, so which might make some difference on the word choices, but it's still very tightly written, which I think it's interesting in the sense of you have this tight control on the poetry form to express this horrible, out-of-control grief. Verse 19, arise, cry out in the night, at the beginning of the watches, Pour out your heart like water before the presence of the Lord. Lift your hands to him for the lives of your children who faint for hunger at the head of every street. Verse 20, look, O Lord, and consider, to whom have you done this? Should women eat their offspring, the children they have borne? Should priest and prophet be killed in the sanctuary of the Lord? Verse 21, the young and the old are lying on the ground in the streets. My young women and young men have fallen by the sword. In the day of your anger you have killed them, slaughtering without mercy. Verse 22, you invited my enemies from all around, as if for a day of festival. And on the day of the anger of the Lord, no one escaped or survived. Those whom I bore and reared, my enemy has destroyed. So it's like the city itself is saying how awful this is and questioning the Lord. Why should everybody's dying, they're lying dead in the streets, and women are eating their children. It's bad. They were under siege, they were all starving, so they're dying. The children are dying of starvation. And then once they did breach the walls and they destroyed the temple, and everybody's mocking them and making fun of them, and it's very hard and very sad. And I could read chapter 3, but I think chapter 3 is even longer, because on chapter 3 they use each letter of the alphabet 3 times. So it is a longer chapter. Yes, it has, instead of 22 verses, it has 66 verses, because it's got 3 verses for each letter. And frankly, it's enough. It is good to recognize that lament is part of our life, that being sad is part of what we are called to do, that God gave us emotions, and it is natural and normal and healthy to feel emotions and to express emotions and to cry. That doesn't mean that I feel like reading a whole bunch of it all at once. So it is just grisly and sad to imagine everybody wiped out and killed, children dying of starvation, women eating their children because they're starving. It's not a very pretty picture, and it's very hard. And why do things like that happen? And so maybe the reason that we had the book of Jeremiah and now the book of Lamentations is to try to explain why this bad thing happened to Judah. And to say, well, God did it because we were sinning and sinned, to explain that the reason it happened is from God. Maybe, maybe not. But to give God that, to place it on God, is to say that God exists, to say that God is real, to say that God hears us when we cry, to say that God does have a standard, a moral standard, has given a law, and has given the Torah, has expected people to live righteously, and they are acknowledging they did not live righteously. So whether it was from that cause or not, they are attributing that to the Lord and saying that we have sinned and the Lord has been very harsh on us, and now we are weeping. And in modern times, we are also weeping. And as we weep, as we cry, as we deal with our emotions, then we can process them and get them out. Grief is one of those things that you have to do. You have to grieve. You have to allow yourself to feel that feeling. And some of us grew up not feeling emotions. Just quash them down, pretend they're not there, squish them down, and it doesn't work until I get too full, and then now what? And grief in particular, if you try to set it aside, you can, but it's still in there. And until you allow yourself to feel that emotion, it will be in there causing all kinds of trouble. And when we feel that emotion and cry and process and recognize the love we had for the thing we've lost, then we can move on with our life. Grief will still be coming, but it will no longer be crippling us as it perhaps was before. So now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord look at you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace. Like, subscribe, and comment. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you again next time.